I got love in my pocket going zing-a-ling-a-ling. Welcome to the Rowdy.com Big Three burning issues in NASCAR racing today. I am Buck Fever. That's a ding-a-ling. I'm Buzz Cutler, but you already knew that. So, this is Sam Hornish Jr.'s third year.
Yes, it is.
And both he and the captain and even Travis Geisler sort of acknowledged at the Charlotte Media Tour that this was a make-or-break year for Sam Hornish Jr. Meanwhile, young Justin Allgaier, with whom we had an exclusive interview on today's Rowdy.com podcast, is the only non-Cup regular to have won in the Nationwide Series so far this season. He's third in the points in that series, the only non-Cup regular.
The answer is yes. The answer is yes. You probably do have to try and put Justin Allgaier in the 77 if Sam Hornish does not do any better. It's stunning that Sam Hornish has not done any better. He's an Indy 500 winner. He's won the Indy Championship. I don't know what to say. I say yes really begrudgingly because I like Sam. I want him to excel at NASCAR racing. I really do.
Sam Hornish Jr. is a champion, and as such, you have to give him the opportunity to try to make it work. The real question is, has he been given sufficient opportunity? And I think at the end of the season, you have to say, yeah, he has. I mean, maybe he should run some more nationwide races. I don't know. But last year, at this point in the season, his finishing average was just a little over 28. This year, his finishing average at this point in the season is a little over 25. Not a vast improvement. He seems to be running a little bit better.
He does.
But his finishes aren't showing it. He doesn't have a top 10 yet this season. And if you've got a young guy like Justin Allgaier who shows promise, and I think he does, I mean, he won at Bristol.
Clearly does.
Then don't you have to make the change? I think you do. Now, we'll give Sam the rest of the season. Nobody's saying pull him out of the car now. But you've got to think this is already in the back of Roger Penske's mind.
And Roger Penske is loyal. And, maybe you get another car and you let Sam stay in the 77.
All right, let's move on to issue number 2. Given what we saw at Bristol and Martinsville, surprising pit decisions towards the end to give up track position in order to get 4 tires, both times paying off. Jimmy Johnson at Bristol, Denny Hamlin at Martinsville. Do you expect to see that same sort of strategy decision being made at Phoenix this weekend?
Gosh, I don't know. I'll say yes. The Martinsville and Bristol deals were very surprising to me, but you could try it at Phoenix. Absolutely.
They were surprising.
They really were.
But here's why I think they worked and why I think you might see it again at Phoenix. Obviously, first of all, they're short tracks and they're difficult to pass, so you would expect that holding on to track position would be your better choice. Yet, because they're short tracks, you also expect there to be caution flags towards the end.
That's a good
point. These
these
guys know that they're going to have the green-white checkered, meaning extra laps, extra opportunity to put those 4 tires to work. I think Phoenix, while not quite Bristol or Martinsville in terms of difficulty to pass, is still a shorter track. It still is a little hard to pass, and I still think you're going to see guys getting aggressive towards the end, so you count on the green-white checkered, you might give up track position for 4 tires.
That's a good point. If you count on the green-white checkered, you know you're going to be bunched up and you're going to have a restart, and on the restart, 4 tires are a good thing.
In this era of green-white checkers, that actually may be the new paradigm, the new SOP.
And we think, or at least Buck Fever thinks, that NASCAR is really fond of green-white checkers, so they like to have them.
Well, I think they're fond of ending races under green.
Yes, but they're fond of green-white checkers.
Are they?
Oh, yes, they are.
Okay.
Next issue.
Next issue. You look at Phoenix, and, a couple of guys come to mind. One of the guys that comes to mind as somebody you would expect to be racy here is Dale Earnhardt Jr. Now, if you look beyond Phoenix, the next races on the schedule, Texas, Talladega, and Richmond.
Yeah, baby.
Also tracks you would expect Dale Earnhardt Jr. to be good at. Now, he's averaging a 14.5 so far this season. He's 10th in the standings. Seems to be getting a little bit of his mojo back, step by step. This is going to be an incredibly important run for him.
It
These
is
next
gonna-
handful of races.
It is going to be crucial. And Junior himself, I think on the podcast yesterday, said that he didn't think that they had turned the corner and that they had yet to do so. But it looks like to me that they're peeking around the corner. They're getting a little around it. They haven't walked around. We'll see if Phoenix is a walk-around move. If he can take care of Phoenix and then get on to Talladega and Richmond, maybe he cements his place in the chase. And maybe, could he win?
Well, and don't forget, you mentioned Talladega and Richmond, but don't forget we've also got Texas in there where he got his first Cup win. And we've talked before about how he just needs to get a little bit of confidence back, step by step by step.
He's getting it, too.
The other thing I think that's interesting to note about these tracks, while we expect him to be strong at all of them, you've also got a diversity of track styles in here. You've got Richmond and Phoenix, right? A short track and then a mile-long track. You got Texas, a mile-and-a-half downforce track, and then you got your plate track at Talladega. So if he can put together decent finishes on all of these tracks, not only does it speak to his confidence, but it speaks to sort of the overall quality of the program that they were able to put together decent cars for all these different track types.
And I think Jimmy Johnson had a really good point when talking about Junior. He said Junior has started to buy into our program and the way Hendrick does things. And if that is the case, good job, Junior.
You know, it's interesting that you mentioned that quote because we've talked before about how we think there might be a conflict of culture between Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Hendrick Motorsports. It's just not necessarily the best cultural fit for him. So that quote from Jimmy says, well, maybe he's learned how to navigate that cultural conflict.
Maybe he has.
Anyway, this has been the Rowdy.com Big Three. Make sure you check out today's Rowdy podcast. If you're not a regular listener, we've got an exclusive with Justin Allgaier. We also have Reed Spencer from the Sporting News making his very first appearance on the Rowdy.com podcast. And of course, go to Rowdy.com and blog your
heart out, man.
Blog your heart out. And your other vital organs as well.
Yeah, your toes.
Are they organs?
Well, yeah, they are for me. They're my organs.
Rowdy.com. Say it like it is.
Say what like it is?
Rowdy.com.